Today I'm going to be working on a 2002 MR2 Spyder.
The truth.
So I finally got the last parts for the brake upgrade for the MR2. Got the front and rear brakes, got braided brake lines, and got a set of front and rear rotors for it. When I upgrade the brakes, I'm going to go ahead and repaint the calipers too. These ones are looking kind of nasty, so might as well give them a good clean finish. I think I'm just going to do a gloss black on them. I don't need to do anything wild and crazy color-wise. Here's the part number for the front set of pads. Go ahead and open this box up. This also comes with stickers, of course, paperwork. Oh, little caution thing. Backings for these pads, and the pads themselves. This is the part number from Monkey Wrench Racing for all 4 braided brake lines. There were a few other companies that made them, but Monkey Wrench made them for the cheapest. Not like I'm trying to cheap out, but I mean, Monkey Wrench is a pretty good company that make parts for the Spyders and the Lotus and everything. So I trust their build quality, and it looks like all 4 of the lines are about the same length and same mounting hardware and everything. So it shouldn't matter which ones go where, but this is a set for all 4. This is a set of front brake rotors I picked up from buybrakes.com. Let's take a look at them. Some drilled and slotted rotors to the front. Let's go put them on the car. Now to get started with the brake job on the front, I'm going to go ahead and jack the car up, get it on some jack stands, and we're going to be removing the wheels. Alright, now that we got the tire off, we can go ahead and start working on getting our brake caliper and the rotor off. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take out these bolts right back here. There's one on the top, one on the bottom, and it's going to remove this, the actual caliper itself, not the bracket. The bracket's held in by 2 other bolts. One right here on the top. I don't know how well you can see it. There's one right here on the top. There'll be one down at the bottom as well. That holds the bracket on. I will be taking this whole thing off because, like I was saying, I want to paint it. And I will be removing the brake line off the back as well. That goes all the way up to here. We'll be changing that out with the braided brake line. Now the 2 bolts here are a 14 mil. There we go. And these back 2 for the bracket itself are 17s. Now I was able to take this top one out with a impact gun, but my bottom one's being a bit tough. So what you're gonna have to do is hold on to this nut right here with a 14 mil, and then work it out with either a drill or a ratchet. And now we can set that aside for the moment. As you can see on my pads, I still had some life left on them before I got down to the wear indicator. But since I'm upgrading the brakes, I'm obviously going to upgrade the pads. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the brake line from the coilover right here at this bolt. Just give me some more flexibility in this hose since I'm replacing it anyway. If you're not replacing your brake line, obviously you wouldn't have to do this. Alright, so I did turn the wheel to the left, just to give me better access back here. I'm getting all the bolts out of the back, excuse me. Now I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to get that rotor off. Sometimes they come off pretty easy, sometimes you just got to bang them with a hammer and kind of work them off. Now because I'm obviously not reusing these rotors, I'm going to hit it with something a little bit harder. But I'm going to try and hit it right in the middle here, just to kind of break it free. There she goes, now she's moving. As you can see on this rotor, it's got some deep grooves cut into it, so they probably need to be replaced regardless. And then there's a heck of a lip up here as well. You could probably get a machine refinished, but I'm just gonna go ahead and replace mine, obviously. The other side's just as bad. And I can obviously tell the differences between the old one and the new one. New one's obviously brand new. These new ones are side specific. So this one has a little sticker on it, say in the front passenger side. That's the side I'm working on right now. It's just basically gonna say which way these holes go, and it's got slots inside here that are typically directional. But if they're straight on, you can usually put them on either side. But since this one specifies, I'm gonna put it on the front passenger side. But you also want to make sure you're going to clean off the surface to get any kind of preservative residue off of there, because when they're sitting in a factory, they hit them with pretty much a protectant to keep it from rusting while it sits on a shelf. So you want to clean that off before you put them on the car. I'm also going to be cleaning up this surface as much as I can before I put the new rotor on. Probably hit it with a wire brush too, just to clean anything else up. Alright, next I'm going to go ahead and loosen up this nut right here that holds it onto the hard line. And then I'm going to take it off of the back of the brake caliper as well. And we'll be taking the brake caliper all the way out of the car. I'm just going to let it drain into my little mason jar down there. Now that I have this unscrewed, I'm going to be taking out this little clip right here. Pretty much grab it with a pair of pliers or something, or you can sometimes get a screwdriver behind here and pop it out. And then your old rubber line will drop right at the bottom. Just want to give a real quick side-by-side with the old one and the new one. I really am a fan of braided brake lines. If you've never tried them before, definitely should give them a try. They improve your pedal feel, and it gives you a constant feel every time when you're getting on it. Where the rubber lines, after a while, they start to expand more and more, so you lose some of your pedal feel. You don't get that with the braided ones. Something to watch out for. With the old line, it's got a very slight bend to it right here, so I matched it up with the new ones. There's another set in the bag for the rear lines, and they have a much more drastic bend to this flange right here. So make sure you match them up before you put them on the car. Now with our new braided line, I'm going to run it up in here and start threading it in to the fixed hard line. I'm going to leave it loose for now so I can manipulate the braided line whichever direction I need the other end to be at. Don't forget to reinstall your little clip back on here as well. Alright, so I'm going to very carefully move my brake caliper. There's still brake fluid in there, so I want to make sure I'm going to tip it right over the jar as I pull it out from here. I'm going to go ahead and painting these. So I'm going to clean it off the best I can with a brush and some brake clean and everything like that. Get it nice and cleaned up. And I'll be hitting it with a primer and the paint. I'm going to go ahead and depress the piston. It's right in here. So I've got a brake caliper, or excuse me, a brake pad right here. My caliper tool is I'm going to turn it. It's going to press down the piston, And I've got the jar underneath to catch any more fluid that's going to be coming out of here. Love it when these bristle brushes just start falling apart on you. Oh well, use it to the end. Alright, now that I got it all cleaned up, I'm going to go ahead and tape off all the areas that I don't want to get painted. So like the nipple here, this hole, these bolt holes, the rubber part where the piston is, and of course the center of the piston itself. So I'm going to be covering all those up, and same with the bracket here, covering up like the rubber boots. And yeah, then I'll be going to the paint booth of mine. Alright, now that I got it all taped up, I'm going to be putting it in the box here. That's the driver's side one I've already done. So that's what it's going to look like when I'm all said and done with it. I'm going to hit it with a coat of primer first. You got to make sure this is good up to at least 500 degrees. And then I'm going to hit it with some caliper paint, again, 500 degrees. And it's going to be nice and red when I'm done with it. Now that we got a good even coat all the way around, let's go ahead and get it back on the car. Alright, let's start by getting this bracket onto the back here. Now tighten up these two back bolts. They are going to be a 17 millimeter. Next, we're putting in these little retaining clips back on our brake caliper bracket here to hold in our pads. And there'll be one on the bottom, one on the top. There we go. Now for our fresh set of pads and the backing. Sometimes you gotta put like a spray adhesive on here, but these ones actually have a little piece of paper that peels off. And it's sticky on there, so we'll peel it off, we'll stick it down, putting them on the back of our pads, and then putting them in the bracket here. Now because of how the wear indicator is set up on these pads, it will not fit on the front, because it bumps the edge of the bracket here. So the wear indicator pad goes on the inside. I don't know. Anyway. Now it's time to put our brake caliper back on to the bracket here. Now when you go to tighten these bolts, it's a 14 millimeter. And you have to hold on to this right here with a 14 as well. Because if you just try and spin this without the wrench in here, this shaft will just sit there and spin. So you gotta hold it steady so it snugs up against itself. There it goes. You do the same for the bottom one as well. Alright, now we're ready to go ahead and attach our brake line to the back of the caliper over here with brand new brake line bolt and a couple of crush washers. You're going to put one on each side. Your brake line's going to go on and the other crush washer will go on. Just like this. Now you want the angle of this brake line to be roughly the same as the angle of the stock one, because it's also going to need to mount to your coilover or your strut if you still have the old style. Once you get a good angle, You have it secured up here. Go ahead and tighten it up with a 14mm wrench. Don't forget to tighten up this bolt right here with a 10mm wrench, or you will leak brake fluid out of there as well. Now that we got all of our connections good and tight, we're gonna go ahead and start bleeding the brakes. So you're gonna wanna top off the brake fluid reservoir. And we're gonna attach a clear hose to this nipple right here and break this free so we can bleed all the air out and into a jar, which we have right down there. And yeah, get all the air out of the system. You can do this with 2 people, or you can do this with 1 person. 2 people is a lot easier. That way 1 person can be here opening and closing the valve to let the air out and keeping the reservoir topped off. 1 person, you'll kind of need a jar full of fluid. So when you pump out and it sucks back, it'll suck back fluid and not air. So it's a little bit more difficult with 1 person, but it is definitely doable. Now we're gonna go ahead and bleed the front brakes into a jar. And so you're gonna wanna open this valve, let the fluid come out, and you're gonna have somebody else pressing the brakes for you. Okay. You'll wanna make sure you keep your reservoir topped off the entire time as well. When you have somebody pressing on the brakes, it's a good time to look for leaks at any of the connection points as well. Now that we have the brakes bled, you can go ahead and put the wheels back on. When you go to road test it, you're gonna wanna bed in the brakes. Don't forget to top off your brake master cylinder as well. Any questions or comments about this video, please leave them down in the comment section below and I'll try and answer them as soon as I can. If you enjoyed any of the background music that's in any of these videos, check out the artist's SoundCloud. I put a link in the description.